Order. Jamie, roll call.
Cerrone,
Hello.
Howard,
Hi.
Present. And accounted for.
Howard,
Present.
Miller,
Here.
Michigan,
Here.
Blackburn,
Here.
Hageman,
Here.
McAlexander.
Here.
Thank you very much. Next is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
Also move.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Third is the approval of the regular council meeting minutes from January 26, 2026. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the council minutes for January 2026.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We'll move on to public comment, not on the published agenda. If anybody would like to speak, you have 3 minutes. Please step to the podium and say your name and address so we know who you are.
Hi, Tony Grenan, Timberbrook Lane. I'm back to talk to you just briefly over something I raised last time I was here. And I've been thinking about it since I was here and think maybe I failed to clarify something. So that's my reason for coming back. As you may recall, I was on the road committee, and part of the things that we recommended to the council was the idea of economies of scale for road work, because everyone knows the more road you buy, the less you pay per unit. And the idea was that when the village bids out projects for village roads, private neighborhoods with private roads, if they had a similar project, cement to cement, asphalt to asphalt, could piggyback onto those jobs, and everybody would benefit by getting a lower per unit price. And at the time the road committee recommended it, everyone here seemed to think it was a win-win and would benefit everybody. Last time we were here, we asked about the timing and implementing it, and we were told that you'd been advised that it couldn't be done because it would involve commingling of funds, which of course is not permitted. And that took me by surprise, and that's why I didn't raise it at the time, but I've had a chance to think about it. As proposed, I didn't envision, and I don't believe the committee envisioned, ever putting money together to do this. A vendor would bid the private job, the village job, with the understanding that yes, they'd be done at the same time because they're near each other, but that bid would be put in with the understanding they would be done at the same time at that price. And then each party, the village and the private neighborhood, would get their own bill from the vendor and pay their own bill from their own checkbook. There'd be no mixing of money, no commingling of funds. So if that's the only reason we can't all benefit from this plan, I wanted to bring it forward because I probably didn't make it clear enough in the beginning, and I wanted to see if we could take another look with that in mind. So that's the reason I'm here. Yep.
Are there any other public comments? You know we can't have a back and forth here. We do have an attorney here. I will consult with him again on this topic, which we've consulted probably 5 times, and I'll call you if the answer is different tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
Next is discussion topics, and we're going to start with the police department monthly report. We have a guest here today. Thank you for coming.
Hi. So you probably realize I'm not Chief Lawson.
I couldn't last month.
Yeah, he's out of town, so Lieutenant Lebowski filling in for him. You all have the monthly report that was submitted. The only thing that I would be adding to that, for those that were either, if you were getting any calls or you were curious, we did have an incident on Friday at the in the SAD district, in the parking lot, 30,600, 800. We had a number of cars out there, so in case people were calling and asking, yeah, there was a domestic assault, and then a private citizen intervened to break it up that had a valid CPL. No shots were fired or anything like that. The offender was taken into custody. They've since been arraigned. Just wanted to know in case anybody was getting calls or anything like that. But that was it. Other than that, if you have any questions for me, I'd be glad to attempt to answer them as best I can. If not, I would refer them to Chief Lawson to answer those.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? No, but thank you so much, and thank you for the most recent update. We appreciate that.
We would like to keep you
Nice if
informed.
we get calls
Yeah.
to, have an answer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Next is the fire department monthly report. Chief is here.
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
It's morning summer,
It's morning something.
and it will be again soon.
Let's hope so.
You also have our monthly report. I just wanted to mention that weekly, I know Village of Franklin puts out an email newsletter, and I've been sending it's not really an article, but the fire department input for that newsletter. I've been copying village manager, as well as my internal person who does our social media. It's not that I'm running out of topics, but winter keeps dragging on, and I can't, I don't want to hit the time of talking about shoveling snow when there's no snow that week. So I've been expanding on the content based on the runs that we are going on. As an example, today we went on a call for someone who fell, no injuries, but that person is on a blood thinner. And that becomes a very significant medical issue for anyone on a blood thinner if they fall. So I wrote an article about that, not because of today, but this happened 2 weeks ago, actually. So if there's any thoughts from any of the council members, anyone in the village, something that you'd like me to cover, I'd be more than happy to do that. I'd rather put some explanations out beforehand as to the what and whys and everything like that, just so that way questions can be answered before someone realizes there's a question. Other than that, our run volume, so we're at 32 calls right now for the month of February. We're not over yet, but I anticipate that when the weather does break, we'll start seeing the bee stings and people doing things while they're restoring gardens and whatnot. In terms of the fire safety side of the house, we are still seeing the same things over and over again. With regard to medicals, though, which is the 70% of our run volume is medicals, we are noticing that in both villages we are seeing folks that are calling us on multiple occasions for need. I'm not discounting the need, but I will say this, not necessarily for the council members, but those who are watching this, that one of the best things about living independently is you're able to live independently. But living independently doesn't mean you shouldn't plan for that and prepare for that based on the contingencies that you face. So I'd be more than happy to talk with folks with my limited experience of living independently without my wife. I don't think I could survive that. But there are things to think about, because I certainly don't like to hear the stories of going on a medical where someone has fallen and they've been on the ground for 6 hours. And that is not uncommon in either of the villages or any other city, village, or township around us. So I'd like people to be healthy, but they have to think about that.
On that very subject, I bought my husband an Apple Watch for Christmas, not
Yes.
because he was going to use it,
Right.
but because it has the ability,
The fall
if he
detection.
falls,
Yep.
to be able, and I fell,
Yep.
and I was unconscious, and I was alone.
Jeez.
And
Okay.
I hit my head and broke it
Okay.
open. And so
Gotcha.
maybe something about maybe, it's not the old-fashioned monitor anymore. There are new ways to have your
Yes.
independence and to have your safety.
Yes. And along with that is what I put in some of the messaging was our Knox Box program.
Uh-huh.
It's not ordinance required for residences.
Right.
Highly recommended. I have one in my own house.
Mm-hmm.
It's regardless of the age of the resident. Also our Vial of Life program, which there should be some in the lobby. If there's not, I'll have some delivered.
Mm-hmm.
Where if you're unconscious and we come over to your house, you can't talk to us. How do we find out your
Right.
name, your medical history, your medications, and allergies? So,
And who is your next of kin that you want called
yes.
would be helpful.
Absolutely. The form, there's no cost for the Vial of Life form. We cover that under our budget. And we don't get the information until we need it. You store it in your home, and the instructions are contained within, so.
Okay. You know, the fire blankets, are those effective?
So, this started as a Facebook thing, probably 7 or 8 months ago.
I
No.
didn't see that.
So there was someone who was selling fire blankets. So fire blankets, are they effective? Sure, because what it does is it removes the oxygen from the fire triangle. In other words, if you get rid of one leg
Right.
or one side, it goes out. So a fire blanket, it depends on your use, depends on the size of the blanket, depends where the blanket is. Is it helpful? Sure. Is it reusable? Absolutely not. Reusable blankets would be welding blankets, way too big, way too bulky.
Yeah, heavy.
With regard to a fire blanket, I would say, think about what you'd use it on, because you need to smother something. So if it's a pot, you should have a lid.
Yeah.
It'll do the exact same thing. Turn off the fuel, put on your oven mitt, put the lid on top.
I
Done.
thought it was something that, like, there's a fire in one room and you have to exit and get through that room.
Yes.
That you would put it over children to, just to get them out to keep them safe, no?
So if there's a fire, anxiety emotions are already up. Adrenaline is pumping through your body. Where's the blanket? Probably not where you are.
No, yeah.
One of the things that I like to teach kids with is, do you have a favorite stuffed animal? Anyone? Do you have a favorite stuffed animal? Can you open your window? If you can't, break it. The kids love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Don't try it at home unless you need to. But when you break the window, throw out your stuffed animal. So what we do, one of the things, the very first thing that we do when we arrive on scene is we have to see the extent of the fire. If we're walking around a house and we start seeing stuffed animals on the ground,
No.
that's not normal.
No.
So that would cause us to look up, and we should be seeing the child, you,
Me.
your spouse, whatever. And then we can come back. There are certain cases where, depending on the extent of the situation, you may not have that opportunity. And that is one thing we were faced with December of 2024, where the fire was to an extent where a blanket wasn't going to help, but sitting in the room waiting for someone to rescue wasn't going to help either. So we get into a bigger picture now, which is smoke and heat detectors, central monitoring systems. If you spend $1 million on a home, don't spend $99 on the economic alarm
Yeah.
system. If you're designing something from the police side, here you go. Give Lieutenant Midlowski a call from the fire side. Give me a call. Let's talk about it. Let's go over your plans with you and say, what should you be thinking about?
Good.
We're more than happy to do that. We've done that for a number of residents, both villages. But in terms of fire blankets, I would say no matter what the issue is and no matter what you're thinking about for a solution, there is no one best solution that fits everything. So, but thinking about it beforehand certainly can put you in the right mind to think of what
Yeah.
your options are.
Yeah.
So,
good.
sorry I'm taking up so much of your
No,
time.
no, it's important. Thank you.
Okay.
Are there any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm gonna get one of the Knox boxes.
Next is the village manager's report.
Yeah, my report is in the packet, along with, I did include the Road Commission's latest report. I would just add that Wednesday, I am going to a meeting for MMRMA in Lansing. I have a meeting set up with the expert in cyber security. I'm sure you've probably seen on the news what our neighbors fell victim to, so I want to make sure we're covered in that respect. That is all I have to report. Thank you. Yep.
Are there any questions?
Can you elaborate a little bit more on the minutes from the Planning Commission meeting that you attended regarding that PUD? There was reference to more information, but there was no additional report in your management report.
And no, we talked about this today when you had emailed. No, I put it in my report, what the motions.
Uh-huh.
Were you looking for more than that?
Well, it seemed as though they weren't, that the sentiment of the Planning Commission was not really strong in some of the areas, and that they were putting it on us. I mean, that was the tone I was getting. I might be misreading.
I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
The ordinance puts it on you, not the planning commission.
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
The ordinance already puts the decision on you guys when,
Right.
when that project comes before you next month. So it's less so planning commission kicking it down the road and more so they're recommending conditions that they like to make sure that the council covers and explores before that project gets fully approved
And it mainly was
contracted.
landscaping and protection of the neighbors while construction was going to be happening. That was the main.
Yeah, that was one of the
Concerning.
concerns from what I saw in Ms. Moore's report as well.
But they did not have concerns about the structural composition of the PUD or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
Well, that was discussed.
It was discussed.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It just wasn't part of the motion with the,
Right.
yeah, that mostly focused on landscaping.
Because that's part of the
Mhm.
agreement was, they were in agreement that the scheme, the color scheme and everything is acceptable, is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, that was discussed.
So it's not part of the motion. The motion was more like what was added on, or what
Mhm.
was given special
Mhm.
attention.
Special, okay.
But the packet of information having to do with the PUD is all there. This was
Okay.
just sort of extra stuff that they
Mhm.
wanted changed a little bit or made sure is followed.
Okay.
But yeah, those few motion items were not, definitely not all. It was hours and hours spent talking about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But it'll come before council hopefully next month.
Correct. Yep, it will.
So we have to wait.
That's the plan.
We have to wait for the minutes to be approved
Yep,
Okay.
by planning commission.
correct.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, next is our administrative assistant, economic development coordinator report. Evgeny?
You guys have my written report. It's quite short this month since it's already a short month and I spent about half of it out of town. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, we'll keep trucking along with the business licenses rolling in and keeping you updated with that statistic.
What's the latest on Smalls? Still
We haven't
open?
heard
As
yet.
far as I know, it's open, yep. Every time I drive by, I see open sign, I see a
Okay.
handful of people in. I don't sit there all day to see what their traffic is, but
Not much, but good.
Any other questions? Next is our board and committee updates. Does anybody have anything to report?
Yes. Attended the fire commission meeting last month, or, I'm sorry, last week. The fire commission, I'm gonna read this, but it's easier for me than trying to, rattle off the top of my head. So the commission approved the 2026-27 budget for $1,625,137.37. It's an 8.8% increase. Including this money is for turnout replacement gear at $3,950 each, plus boots, helmets and gloves. These typically last 10 years. The turnout equipment, sorry, goes for coats, pants, boots, helmet, gloves, and typically it's between $4,000 and $12,000, so they're getting a pretty good deal. Typically in the past, though, excuse me, there was a grant for all this, but there's no grant money right now for it. Budget also includes a new firefighter for each of the next 4 years. That gives them at least 3 then on duty, 24/7, allows them then to transport injured. Budget also includes money for FDIC training, that they're gonna send 3 people, 2 full-time and 1 volunteer, at approximately $3,000 each per person. That go down to, for a week down at Indianapolis. Also covers increase in insurance, inflation, news dispatch, and so forth. There's also still $277,570 outstanding for this year, but that will then be covered. We only owe half of that, but that'll also be covered by our monthly installments. That's it.
How much did you say? What was the last thing you said? 207?
$277,570, of which we split with Franklin.
What was that percentage of increase again? From what?
8.8.
I just wanted to report that Next has a fee increase, and it's for those that are not residents of Birmingham. It's going from $55 a year to $65 a year. In March, beginning of March. So, still a good value.
Anybody else?
Any idea of the occupancy in the YMCA?
Well, we have a drop dead date next year that we need to be out because Birmingham is expecting that to be available for the preschool program. But I'm hoping they'll be able to cooperate and that we'll have a home and not a temporary one. So we have 2 moves. But we'll see. Nothing yet.
Anything else? Okay, we'll move to new business. And it was asked last month that we include code enforcement. Trustee Howard, did you?
Yes.
Get that?
We have an ordinance officer now, and as a point of clarification, is that officer informed of situations that are pending concern, or let's say something might have happened, somebody did something, and maybe some action will be taken? Is that officer aware of those kinds of situations so that they could monitor to see if in fact anybody's doing anything behind somebody's back and it's already done? I mean, what's the policy on that?
Absolutely,
Okay.
he is. And he has a background in law enforcement, right? So that's his wheelhouse, yeah. But yeah, even things like our bollards being stolen, he makes it a habit, you know, every day he's out to check on that situation. But absolutely, yeah, he's very proactive.
Do all of our ordinances have a penalty involved if you break the ordinance? Is there a fine for breaking every ordinance?
I have to look and see specifically how it's written. That's not something I recall off the top of my head.
I know
Do you have
that,
any insight?
I know that you have civil fines as opposed to misdemeanors. I don't believe they're, the code violation would be a misdemeanor, but I think you have civil fines that apply to your.
So if somebody broke one of our ordinances, we'd have to take them to court and sue them in a civil court of law because there was something having to do?
Right.
Like we have a tree ordinance, for example, okay? And you can only remove X number of trees. I don't know, Jim, if you're aware of the number currently on books. But if you remove more than that, you're in violation of our ordinances. But is that then something you could take to a court of law?
They'd certainly be written up. I think it would be written. I'd really have to dig into your ordinances to answer that specific issue.
Okay. Well,
Well,
I'm just concerned that we have ordinances on the books, and I don't know that we are as vehement as we should be in enforcing those ordinances with consequences. Saying you broke the ordinance is one thing, but what are the consequences of breaking an ordinance? And there's a lot of discussion going on about this general subject, and I think we as a council have to take a posture on how we feel and how aggressive we feel about the ordinances that are on our books.
I know there's been fines imposed in the past for violations to ordinances, so that's,
fines are available, and usually remediation,
yeah,
an order from the judge would also
depending, yeah.
be possible.
Kind of depends on the ordinance and how it's written to an extent.
I think we maybe need to get a little bit more, like you said, you don't know how the fines are assessed per ordinance or if they're different. Look, we had a case in the past where someone, when they were doing some construction completion, violated an ordinance, and they had a very small fine rather than fixing the problem. And so it was, and in today's day, a $500 fine is nothing. A $5,000 fine might catch somebody's attention. And I'm proposing that we take a look at not only doubling, but maybe 5-fold or 10-fold the fines that we're charging for violation of ordinances, to take a posture that we are serious about maintaining the rules of this village. I don't know how the other trustees feel about.
I think it's a big discussion that needs to be had, and because I agree, I think we have, and I don't know where the start point is, but it's clear that we have ordinances that in some cases, I don't know when they were written, maybe they were written 20 years ago, I don't know, times change. Maybe the ordinances aren't even enforceable anymore. Maybe, so that's one thing. Maybe people just choose to ignore the ordinance even if they know it's out there. Maybe people are ignorant of the ordinances and do things because they just don't know. But my experience over the past couple of years is that we have ordinances, we have violations to the ordinances, and typically there's very little. I'm going to be careful because I think the new ordinance officer is doing a great job. And I think that we agreed to that in the budget, and I think that's a big step in the right direction. So this is not to say anything about that. I think it's a big step in the right direction. But it's clear that in some cases, ordinances we decide are either not enforceable or we don't want to enforce them. And I don't know how to deal with that other than going back to every single ordinance, doing a review of it one by one. And if it takes 2 years, who cares? Let's do something. Even if we say tonight, let's take ordinance number 1 and look at it and say, is this applicable? Is it enforceable? Are we going to enforce it? Do we want to change it? Do we want to throw it away? Times change. Maybe we need to make some changes. But I don't believe we're doing anything to our ordinances except when problems come up, we look at them and go, oh well, maybe we should do something different. Maybe we shouldn't do anything. I'm sure this is a common problem, but ordinance reviews, I think, are needed in the village. And if we do one a month or one every 6 months, I don't know, but we need to review them.
Jim, didn't you copy all the ordinances?
I did, and there are dozens, if not hundreds, of ordinances.
It was like this thick.
Each one,
Yeah,
has a different enforcement or different fine or no fine or how it's enforced. And so there's no real structure to it
Yeah.
now. Our
But I
code of
think-
ordinances, it just,
yeah. As Eric said, right now, we're really not enforcing things. They just sort of happen, and if you knock on the officer knocks on somebody's door, if they're courteous enough to open the door, he can have a conversation. But like as not, they're not going to open the door, and then it sort of ends right there. Letters are sent, and so forth, but there's no truly effective follow-up in order to get a response from the homeowner on what they're doing, and did they know? And maybe, again, we need to educate them, and maybe the newsletter would be a vehicle to explain that on our website, there's a link that takes you to those ordinances. And please review those ordinances that are applicable to what projects you're working on in your home. But I think Eric's right. We need to start somewhere in the review process.
Jim, in your task that you took upon yourself to organize this, were you overwhelmed with the number and the complexity of how ordinances were written, you having a background in the law, correct?
yeah, there was a whole bunch written in the 50s or whenever the
Yeah.
the master documents for this village got formed, and then added to them and changed over the years. But, yeah, there's just a whole mess of ordinances.
And then we expect our homeowners to go to this whole mess of ordinances when they're trying to figure out, can I paint the fence white or black? So if we, on our books, cannot feel a sense of organization for our ordinances, how could we dare expect our homeowners to uphold them and to go to the right one?
The same holds for our master plan, is what is the purpose and function of the master plan? And that would dictate how it would be written.
Well,
And,
master plan is not on the agenda, and that's a planning commission.
well,
thing,
I'm just
which
saying,
there's been
we've
a lot of
really
conversation about the
ignored,
master plan.
yeah, we've sort of ignored some of the fundamentals of the village that I think would be prudent to take a look at, so.
Well, perhaps we should maybe make a start, if possible, by maybe either forming a little committee of the board or doing something to at least start the ball rolling on addressing the clarification and the organization of our ordinances.
Do you remember when Giffords Webster. And we
That's a
spend a
great
lot of
idea.
money to have Giffords Webster make our ordinances much more accessible.
I believe you're referring to the clear zoning process that was applied to our zoning ordinance. Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yes, that was a fairly costly project that I believe it started right before I was hired in 2019. And that was literally just to make our zoning ordinance a lot more readable. So that's actually what turned it into this PDF format that you're probably familiar with if you've looked at our zoning ordinance, which is a little bit more interactive and has links. It did not, in fact, apply to all of our ordinances. But that's why if you go through our code of ordinances right now, if you get to the chapter that is the zoning ordinance, instead of having the text in there, it redirects you with a link to this PDF. As far as overall organization of our ordinances, they are organized. They're in chapters and subchapters. I'll admit you have to get used to how it's organized just because of how laws are written and added over time. So it does take a minute to kind of get your bearings in it. Otherwise, yeah, so that's what I know about the Giffords Webster thing. In general, with code enforcement, our code enforcement officer tries to make contact if there is an issue, leaves a citation notice if there has been no contact, and then we educate people as best we can when they contact the office about various ordinances, various issues. Likewise, if somebody has a project and they approach us before starting it, we direct them to the appropriate chapters.
So today I counted 6 trees going down, behind me, and they were just being cut. They all appeared to be dead trees, and I think that's a matter of clearing the property. But does that homeowner, are they required, if they are going to do some land clearing, to report to you or seek permission from the village to do tree land clearing and cleanup, or can they just do it to their liking?
I've had residents reach out to me to come out and just show me that they're dead or weed trees. But yeah, to my knowledge, they don't have to fill anything out for that. They just call and ask sort of permission and just want to let us know what they're doing. And I take a look, and they're allowed to take out weed or dead trees. Yeah.
We actually encourage dead, diseased trees to be taken
Absolutely.
out, and weed trees. There's a lot of weed trees that people don't know are weed trees.
Choke cherry.
But, we actually encourage people to take down dead and diseased trees. So, I think a lot of times people see trees coming down, and they're not aware that it's already been run through the village, or that they are dead or diseased. So.
But I guess back to the whole thing on the ordinances and the plethora of ordinances. Jim, you've got something that's a start, right? The way you organize things?
All I did was go online and make a copy of our current gigantic list of ordinances, which, include the zoning ordinances and...
Yeah. Well, if you wanted to give me a section that, if we had a committee that was going to study that section, I'll make copies at my home.
But I think, and that's fine, I think it's a lot, there's a ton of ordinances. I agree, but you have said it, if once you start working with them, they are organized, you can once you start working with them, you can pretty easily find what you're looking for. So making copies is fine, and doing it electronically is a lot easier, and a lot quicker to get to what you're looking for, potentially. But either way, again, I come back to, I just think we need to be careful, because I don't know that just as a council member and a resident, I have any idea other than I might like it or not like it. I may have an opinion on everything. I actually do have an opinion on almost everything. But I'm not sure that really matters. What matters is, in the end, is it an ordinance that meets the needs of the village, whatever that means, and is it enforceable? And if it is, are we going to enforce it? So maybe that's pretty simple, but that's the way I would organize it. And then, and because there's things that we could say, okay, this is an ordinance and it's enforceable, but maybe we want to change it just because times are different now.
Well,
And that's, so it's difficult to do, but it needs to be done.
And I've been to training that's offered by, there's a company that does training for planning and that type of thing, and, but it's illegal.
Yeah.
And I think we have to it takes somebody that's really aware of all the changes in the rules and regulations that will have an influence or an effect on our old ordinances.
Well,
So-
back to Yip's comment that when we went through and revitalized the zoning ordinances, it was very costly. I don't think we should be afraid to do something that is right because it's costly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, Michael, maybe you even have some thoughts on other places you've worked with, but how do you have ordinances that aren't 50 years old that nobody cares about anymore, so we don't enforce them or whatever? Things change is the point.
Well, you do, you just have, I mean, you have to be diligent about updating the ones, especially, I think you probably could identify some that are more important to you than others.
Yeah,
And maybe you start with the low-hanging fruit.
yeah.
I would suggest, Tracy Cadenzi, my partner, Tracy was at the Planning Commission meeting.
She's excellent.
She does a lot of work in Birmingham, and for years was a prosecutor for all of our ordinance violations in Birmingham. So she's intimately familiar with ordinances and how they're enforced and how judges view them. And she would, if you're going to get some people together for like a committee to think about these
She could
things,
be
I would volunteer her.
Voluntold is what I
To
would say.
assist. She's really.
That would be wonderful to know there's that resource.
Yeah, exactly.
That-
That's exactly what we need.
A
Absolutely.
lot of it is about coercion, if to get people to correct what they've done that's wrong if it's correctable. And it's also education. I think people need to understand that ordinances even apply to the things that they're doing.
So many, I have a new neighbor, and I said, well, you just can't cut that tree. Oh, I didn't, they don't know. And that's, that's no excuse for not following an ordinance. But it's just not on people's minds when they've got a problem that that tree is blocking their entrance to the driveway. That's-
Sometimes it is on their mind, and they figure I'll ask for
That's
forgiveness
right.
later.
Yeah. Cut it down, what are you going to do? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you say, it's also a prioritization, right? There's a lot of stuff in there, but on one hand, to have something there that's not enforceable or that doesn't doesn't mean anything nowadays.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if it's not important for us to go after, right, it's all about, to me, there's never enough time to do all the things that we need to do, so we're going to prioritize. So if we're going to look at some things, we look at the things that are important to us, right? There are, or important to all of us, the whole village, not just us, and things that people care about, and see what needs to be updated, because I'm sure there's some work that needs to be done.
And this associate of yours who has been on the bench ruling on these knows the subjects that came before her.
Right.
Not ruling on them, she's the prosecutor.
Oh,
So,
prosecutor,
but she
okay,
does. So
yes.
Your point is still well taken, yeah.
Mhm. So she would be very helpful in starting to direct this person or this committee or whatever in the right direction.
Correct.
Do you maybe think that a motion on the floor to start a study group or a committee group to begin investigating how to proceed? I don't know. Should
Or
we
you
put a
could just
motion?
sit down with her, a couple of people could just, she'd come down and have coffee with you and talk to you about it.
Let's start
I think that's
that way.
the
I
best.
think
So
that's
do we need a
great.
committee, or can we get a couple of people together and talk about some things and look at some
Yeah.
things?
Mhm.
We need a committee for that.
Mhm.
We just
So-
chat first.
Okay, so if you
Yeah, I think
could
that's a
check
good
with her first, see if her availability, and then I would be interested in hearing what she has to say.
Yeah, she's excellent.
And, okay,
I would say maybe 2 people. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
Trustee Miller would be one of them.
yeah.
That'd be great.
I'll coordinate and send out
Okay.
an email to everyone.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we can't have a quorum, yeah.
Mhm, right. But thank you for this discussion, because I think it's on all of our minds in some way or another as to, if we have the rules, got to start doing something. Okay.
Okay, next is the traffic control idea discussion. I wanted to discuss this because I had asked last month for council to come up with ideas. I don't think you would receive any ideas.
Oops, where did my paper go?
Where is that?
That's Losser.
HRC had put together a little bit,
Somebody's yard.
some ideas here. I took this picture on Lasser because this is also an idea. Unfortunately, I got 2 text messages from 2 residents today about all the traffic that is going down Timber Trail on a regular basis. So we need to do something. I think the residents, not all residents, the residents that took out the bollards has proven to us that we need to spend a whole lot of money to ask our residents not to drive down a walking path. So I think we need to really consider doing something very permanent, inexpensive, and immovable. We've already heard from the police and the fire, as well as the utility companies, that they don't need to go down there. I think people have gotten kind of used to it being there, but it's no longer a route, and we need to make sure that people walking down that path, now that we've made it a walking path, are not in danger. So again, HRC put together the quick ideas. I personally think bollards are out, even if they are lockable, because somebody could just cut the lock. I think that's not really going to work. Anything that's going to be able to be cut or removed or pulled out in one way or another, I believe, is not going to work. We could do more permanent type bollards, but they would need to be cemented into the ground somehow. And I think at this point, since we tried the sort of more economical choice and it was disregarded, I think we need to spend money on it and make it nice. The thing I would love to have planters, which HRC gave a couple of ideas there. The problem is we don't have any sort of grounds people that are going to water flowers or plant flowers or maintain any sort of vegetation, so I think it would look nice. I think the gates that are option 4 in your packet, again, I think, first of all, I don't think are very attractive, but second, I think, again, could easily be manipulated to where people could go down and figure out a way to go through that. So I'm open to suggestions. Again, this seems to work to these people. I think they probably, they're right next to the middle school in Lasser, and I think they probably were getting a lot of traffic, as well as probably snow plows riding on their grass. And I've actually had my eye on these for a few years, wondering if they would end up being pushed up further onto their yard by snow plows or whatever, and they don't seem to have moved.
Is this in somebody's yard?
Yeah.
It's in their front
So
yard.
they're just
right on
keeping
Lasser.
people from
Parking.
or running over the edge of the road and making a rut in their yard? Yeah.
You can use those in Bingham Lane in the front of our properties.
Yeah, really.
Man, it's a track of mud.
See on Riverside too.
Yeah.
Do we know how heavy these are?
Heavy enough for that?
Yeah. I'm sure that you could make them heavy, you know what I mean? They haven't
I'm sure
contacted
they're
the company or anything, but.
solid concrete, I would guess.
They're
I'm
not
sure
going
they're
anywhere.
solid, and I'm sure you could also cement them to the ground.
Yeah.
I think they already go anchored, not necessarily cemented, but they will
Yeah,
anchored with
somehow.
like a metal cable that's just buried deep within anchoring devices.
I mean, they haven't moved at all. So, I don't know if people have any other ideas, but I think because spring is right around the corner, and because people are clearly disregarding the bollards that are there, that we need to come up with something so that when the weather breaks, we can kind of move on it and get it done before people start walking and biking.
My first thought was K-rails, which are those big, heavy concrete units that they use on highways. They're about 3,000 pounds each, so you know they're not going to move. Then my next thought was how to make them look nice. But when I saw the planters that I see here, my first thought was, I like the idea, but as you brought up, okay, how do we keep foliage in there? Well, there's such a thing as faux plants that look real, that would be winter resistant and water resistant, or water resistant plants. But I do like the idea of something that's so heavy and so immovable that they're not going to go anywhere. And, all right, you still leave enough space to get a wheelchair or bike or what have you through there.
I just thought of a combination of landscape blocks somehow that can firmly be established, and maybe a couple of trees or something to start creating an archway, almost as if it, and maybe there's just a little opening right here for a person or a bike to go through.
That'd be lovely.
I think it has to be 4 feet. 4 feet. I feel like it's 4 feet.
Yeah, whatever the gap needs to be, yeah.
There's ADA rules and all that.
Yeah.
It has to be 4 feet tall?
I think that's what
Wide.
Bryce said.
Wide,
I think
opening,
it's
the
4 feet
opening.
wide.
Oh, okay, well, whatever,
Which would be
whatever,
fine.
that's
That would
fine.
work, yeah.
That,
Right.
that
That's a
doesn't
great
allow,
idea.
but at least it's a combination that's in keeping with a pathway. And it says, welcome to the pathway. But this is not for you car, because you don't fit here.
Yeah.
And they have beautiful, rather than these very ominous black bowling balls, I just, this, I think, could be done a little more artfully.
Yeah. That'd be
Well,
great.
there's a lot of ways to do it really nice.
Well, we're
The
talking about
question
that.
is, how much money do we want to spend? Because we need it at both ends. So it's time to
Right.
Well, if we know who's doing this, why don't we tell them not to do it anymore? It says residents have been caught removing blockages and using the path for vehicles.
That was during construction when they had all the roadblocks, like heavy bags and all of that stuff so that people couldn't get through.
As well as the little police barricade that's currently getting replaced, so they're removed bollards.
Yeah, the little police barricade's been moved multiple times. I think it's a combination of residents, well, clearly a resident ripped the bollards out because who else is gonna do that? But I know like UPS, the USPS, I believe probably like DoorDash, any delivery person has gone down there.
It's not there,
So
yeah.
it would, be like constant, we need to park somebody there, basically 24/7 to catch everybody. We did catch some cars on camera, but then we're never able to find, if they live back there, or we never really were able to identify those vehicles as residents. But like I say, I got 2 calls today that people are, driving down there. One of them was the mail truck.
It's open.
Brazen.
The
And
other-
it's the shortest, they have a job to do, and they're like, I can do as quick as I can, I'm just gonna go around.
I've seen, like, option 2, that it says permanent bollards, but I've seen non-permanent versions of this in a different shape, made out of precast concrete with exposed aggregate, so it looks nice. But they're pyramidal in shape. They're maybe 4 feet tall. They have a colored band like this at the top. And because they're sitting on the ground and the base is maybe 18 inches by 18 inches, and it tapers up to 6 by 6 or whatever the pyramid tapers up to, those are heavy. They look good. They're not going to get moved. They're cheap to install because they're precast or just rock and laid down, and you're done. And you don't have to maintain them.
Right.
Yeah, that sounds like that might be an option.
So I think what you're talking, what I'm talking about is something definitely heavy enough
Yeah.
that
It's
they're
the
not gonna
weight.
be able to move it.
Right.
Yeah.
You might
Really?
get nudged by a car or
Right, something
push it, try
big
to
and
push it.
concrete enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My main thought on planters is that it's big and concrete and filled with dirt. And if, no, we don't have people to be able to do that, but there are residents who put flowers at corners of their street in various places, and if somebody wanted to make them nice, for the people who live around there, if somebody wants to stick flowers out there in the spring, they can. If nobody wants to, then it's just a big aggregate concrete thing that has some dirt in it.
Yeah,
You
that's
know.
what I was thinking, faux flowers or something like that, that would be
If you,
weather resistant and,
Or else, a shrub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we had, there's a lot of.
stuff that doesn't need too much maintaining in it, and if they make that go away, then they don't want it to be nice, and it's their fault.
Yeah.
So there.
Right. Here's a chance to make it nice.
Yeah.
If you want to make it nice, if you want to leave it nice, it can. If they
We
choose
were
not
nice,
to.
Now we're not gonna be nice.
We're not nice anymore.
Well-
It's very disappointing.
Yeah,
Maybe
so-
what we could do is, I've heard lots of ideas, all could be viable ideas. Maybe let's get those ideas, and if we could send them to the office, they just start collecting them, and if I could ask our treasurer to possibly run through the budget at some point, because I would like to say, how much do you want to spend on this?
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
gonna be, how much can we afford on this? And, I think whatever we have to do to, this might be
This might even come out of the road budget.
I don't know if we can. I
There
think
you
They
go.
could have replaced it.
possibly.
It was in the road budget originally.
So now we're
Oh, the
replacing
bollards,
our-
the bollards are in there.
The bollards are
Yeah.
in there, so this would be a replacement of the bollards.
Yeah. The others, if you're collecting ideas, right, we've got a handful here, but if any residents watching have
Yeah.
unique ideas that they want to share,
Yep.
Jamie's always willing
Please
to
reach
listen.
out, yep.
We'll find out if it can come from the road budget, and, I know that sounds nice, but it makes me sad, because again, we have to spend more money, and we have a very, very large project to do on Bristol Lane. It's gonna cost a lot of money, and it's just gonna take away from that, and that just makes me mad, honestly.
I don't know, I mean, we listen to all the options, obviously. I don't know why we can't just put a sign up that says this road is
Right.
closed to anything other than walking traffic or bikes, and if you're violated, you're gonna be prosecuted. And then prosecute somebody. I suspect that Grubhub and all these other, the post office, I don't even know. Call the post office and tell them not to drive down the road. I've suspected this for quite some time, that some of these delivery services may be using that road because that's where the MapQuest is taken.
Well, let's see, where does
And
Google
if you don't get that
say?
updated, they're gonna go, I've got to deliver this package or I'm gonna be in trouble.
Yep.
And I got to get down this road. So there's things like this that need to be looked into. And if it's a resident that's doing it, then somebody's just mad about it.
Right.
Put something up, I don't know what they'll do. They'll vandalize anything you put up. Unless we figure out who it is that's doing it and tell them not to do it anymore. If it's a resident. I think we probably know.
As far as Google, I did do an edit on their website before I left on vacation. I haven't followed up to see if it's been changed, but I'll see what I can do. Google is notoriously difficult to get a hold of as far as getting a real person on the line. But I'm doing all I can from the user input side of it.
Yeah, that actually does work, because I had a place in Milford that I submitted wasn't a road, and me and one other person did, and I don't know how many others, but it's not a road anymore on Google, so it,
But you may want to play with your own, whatever your map app is, and see if it's still
Yeah.
taking you down Timber Trail. And people get there and go, I got it, I don't know, I'm going to get in trouble if I don't get this package somewhere.
But
So-
things you can put in detours, so.
Yeah.
We are gonna put up signage. That's already been discussed, we have to put up signage, but, I mean, that's not gonna stop people. I mean, somebody ripped out 3 boxes.
Oh, if somebody wants to do it, they'll rip out anything you put there, or they'll vandalize. Bigger deterrent, I guess, but I think what we're probably talking about is many thousands of dollars. On the other hand, what we're talking about is somebody driving down there and hurting somebody too.
Right. And ruining ruining the road.
That's correct, yeah.
We did not pay a dollar amount in which a vehicle is gonna sustain traffic on that
Yeah.
road. They're damaging the road. So it's the whole road that's getting damaged, as well as,
No, I agree.
more importantly, somebody may be getting hit.
Yeah.
Like Ray. I mean, Ray was standing out there and a car blew right past him.
Right.
So, I think let's do that for the next meeting. Send any ideas, even if you sketch it out, it doesn't have to be like an AI
And we'll send it
thing.
around.
Even
Just
if
send you
you
around, yeah.
sketch things out and
Because
get it
that's
over to the
too much
office, and then,
Right, because I said go from there to there.
Bill, you could come up with, if you think,
Well, now's a good time when the budget's going to be starting, so I will look at a number of things that I have to do. That will, I've written it down, that's one that I'll look into.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything?
Do we have a camera up on the pole? Is that how you got the picture of the car?
We did.
Okay.
No, the car picture was taken by Ray, because that's the
Oh, yeah.
car that blew past him.
The car picture was taken by Ray.
Police did put up.
Fast thinker.
Police did put up a camera, but,
Good.
it's hard to catch and,
Well, they're going at night, because I might back up to Timber Trail, so I see the lights.
I think they're going all day anyway.
Are they?
These people are just, their shortest distance between A and B, and they're getting paid, they're gonna take it, and we need to stop it.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's costing the village a lot of money if the road gets damaged or
Well,
somebody gets hurt.
Two things, a relatively inexpensive concrete, I have a concrete planter,
Right.
and it's about yay around, and it's about yay high. Can't move that for the love of money. And you put dirt in there, and now you
Yeah.
really can't, and just 4 of those concrete things can block off. So I don't think we have to, we don't have to be,
Take a picture and send it to
Yeah.
Jamie.
we don't have to be
That's a
too
good idea.
expensive.
No, I
It
think
can be
that's a
done
good economical
cheaper than we,
solution.
as a matter of fact, I'll take a picture of the planters. Okay.
I like
Okay.
that.
Anything else? Okay, next is the road special assessment resolution. You want to introduce this? We have to do this, we did this for phase 1, we have to do it for phase 2, as well as phase 3, a year from now.
It's a detective.
or so. There is a resolution in the packet. If anybody, do you want to say anything about it, or just offer it? I mean, it's basically housekeeping. We did this last year.
Yeah, that's what I would say. It's
Yeah.
housekeeping, yep. So a resolution to approve it would be appropriate. The attorney has reviewed it.
So we do that before we know how much it's going to be, because we don't know what the quote is yet?
To an extent, yes, because one of the things that this resolution does is directs HRC to write up the scope of the project and its final costs before we go to the next resolution, which will be the, I believe, the hearing on the necessity and so on.
Right.
So this is basically saying, this is a project, we're going to move forward with it. Let's
Yes.
kick off the project.
Yeah. It's sort of formalizing what you did at the last meeting,
Right.
like you sort of gave them the sign.
We told HRC to go.
And now we're
with-
telling them, look, go and get our costs.
Yeah.
Report back to us, file a report with the clerk. It's a procedural step that has to be taken to move to the next step.
Right.
But it's my understanding it'll be $500. The special assessment.
That is the plan based on the overall road improvement project that council approved back when that was approved. The exact amount will actually be determined by, I'll have to review either resolution, because there are 3 resolutions that have in total for setting up an SAD, if you will recall from the first SAD. This is just the first one. This one really just formalizes the initiation of that process, if you will. Correct me if I'm wrong. So once you have the public hearing and all that, that's kind of where things like the amount of the SAD and so on get formalized in the upcoming resolutions.
And that's what happened last time. yeah.
Right.
I don't, Lisa, I don't know that we should all automatically assume a $500 special assessment amount just because it happened in one time in one place. I mean, we should really look at our costs.
But that's not what this is.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a
Right.
whole different
Right,
topic.
right, but I do
That's
want to
another
make
area.
sure, I mean, I don't feel, I mean, I feel strong that just because $500, I mean, if $500 was done on phase one, I believe, in my opinion, it's not based on the cost. Like, because then you're gonna move to Bristol Lane, which could be 3 times the cost, and then you're gonna special assess those people based on the cost of the,
If the scope of the project is different, sure.
But that's not how the project was originally approved by council.
No.
Because the 500 for phase one was also not based on cost. The 500 was set up as a number that was, in my recollection, more or less pulled out of the air, kind of based on costs, but with the idea of that's going to be the amount for upcoming SADs as well.
I don't think it would be right to charge some residents more or less on a village-wide
So the
project.
spirit of the road committee was, we have half the village that lives on private roads, half the village that lives on public roads. If in fact it would have gone to a vote, which it didn't, people on for private roads may say, I don't, and by the way, we were going to increase taxes, which we did. The previous council did. So people on private roads are going, wait a minute, that paints the picture that we're funding just as much as the people that get the benefit of the asphalt, new asphalt. And therefore, we might not like that. The reverse argument was posed on people that lived on public roads. So in the end, it was a compromise, and it was never based on cost. I don't know that it was ever meant to be based on cost. I guess it could be, but that was not the spirit of it. The spirit of it was to say that the people that live on the roads that will be reconstructed and get the benefit of the roads will pay more than those that don't, or those that live on private roads. That was really the spirit of it. When it comes to figuring out a way to pay for the next phases, I'm sure that'll be a big discussion.
Yes, that's a whole nother big discussion.
Yeah,
right.
But this is setting up the SAD, but no amounts.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, so
But
there's
the
no...
spirit,
so
the
there's
spirit
no-
of the 500 was simply,
Right.
let's make it as fair as we can for everybody that lives in this village, half of whom live in private roads that pay for all of their road maintenance.
Right. I just don't want to divide people
No,
again.
no. Yeah. And by the way, the $500 doesn't sound like a lot. It was times 10 years. It was $5,000.
Right.
To be clear, so we're not making any references. And across everybody that was going to be assessed over that period of time, it was almost $1 million. It was not a small amount of money in total. It's about $1 million.
Right.
Of which I should also point out that a number of people have paid in full.
That's correct. Surprised me. I mean, I think about half,
More, yeah.
even more than half.
I think it should help just about half.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got to get back to the agenda, which
Yeah.
is does anybody want to offer the resolution?
Is there a motion to the meet? Do we have one?
You offer the resolution, that's
Oh,
the
yes.
motion.
Okay. Then I also move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Blackburn,
Aye.
Howard,
Yes.
Miller,
Aye.
Mishigian,
Aye.
Hageman,
Aye.
McAlexander,
Aye.
Durrani.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to the treasurer's report and start with the approval of the February 2026 bills. Bill?
Yes, I'm up, huh?
Mhm.
Okay, that's good. Good evening, everyone. Is in your packet, as usual, we have, first of all, a motion for approval of disbursement of the funds. So since last month, at council's approval for last month's bills, we have dispersed out of the general fund $99,146.59. Out of the gas and weight fund, it was one invoice for $12,590, for a total disbursement out of both funds for $111,736.59. Any questions that I can answer regarding the bills that are in your packet? If not, then there's a motion for council to,
I'll make a motion to approve the February 2026 bills.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Second item under the treasurer's report is another motion for the Village of Bingham Farms profit and loss budget, actual to January of 2026. That is also in your packet. I reviewed it. Are there any questions that anyone has regarding that document? If not, then
I'll make a motion to accept the financial statements for January 2026.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, you guys are being really easy on me. I don't want to say the last item, the next item is current investments, which I talked to about the last meeting. Since I was out, we did not have investments over the last couple of months. This one is as of what our investments are that have changed for January of 2026. The one thing that I'll mention is I go down and looking through this, what we have done, and there's been conversations about it in prior council meetings of I'm trying to make sure that we ladder and kind of stagger our investments, both in the general fund obviously is more, and also in the roads fund. I went back and looked at the investment policy because past council have looked and said they were under the impression that we can't go out more than 12 months on a term for an investment. That's not the case. Public Act 20 doesn't restrict it, and our own investment policy doesn't restrict it. So what we've done on some of them, you'll notice the dates in the general fund. Some of them go out, we've got one or two that went out, one went out 24 months, some of them went out 18 months. I carefully looked at that along with our regional manager from Multi-Bank Securities, and what we did is we looked at the rates of what was being offered and where they were going at the time, and we strategically placed certain amounts. We didn't part large amounts, things that were maturing. For instance, in the second from the last, we put $100,000 in that matures at 3.6%, 3.60% that matures out in November of 2027. The reason we did that was at that point in time when those funds were available and what the bonds and different CDs that were out there, that was advantageous. We thought, okay, that's why I'm going to start staggering and spreading it out. So that was kind of the methodology that we're using through that. I am going to be making some changes because Oakland County Investment Pool is now kind of, right before COVID, they locked in for a number of years, or months I should say, that rate because they weren't sure. They thought everything was going down. Those have expired, and that's now up at 4.2, so we've got kind of a 75% basis points, that's higher. So I'm going to start moving some of the money from the Michigan class pool and some of the other insured cash sweeps into that so that we take advantage of that higher rate until that changes. And I'll monitor it from month to month, and if we need to make adjustments, we'll make adjustments. So that's the answer on the general fund portion. You have the same presentation for the road funds. And we basically are doing, there's not been as much movement, but I use the same methodology on that. The other point that I just wanted to make is last council meeting, Trustee McAlexander asked for cash flow analysis. I'm starting that. I want to start looking at some of the funds. I have a couple questions and items I need to go over with our auditor, and I'm going to be doing it this week. But just kind of as a summary, if you look at the most liquid funds on the first 4 funds on the road project investments, those are the most liquid. That's about 1.5, a little bit more than 1.5 million. So you take that. We looked at the beginning of when we had the road committee, there was about 3.2 million that was available.
Right.
You look at what we spent on the first phase project, so, just using rough math, 2 million on the project. So we've got about that along with the 1.5 and some other funding, we're right to where we were,
When we
initially
started.
back then,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
So we'll go back, I'll look at the SAD, that's obviously some funds that is kept in a different account code, but that's kind of where we're at until what my plan is to consolidate it for you and give basically a summary spreadsheet like I did to the Rose project a year and a half ago or so that we kind of know where we're at with it. But I just wanted to let you know where I was with it and give you kind of an idea of how it's panning out currently.
It's good.
Okay?
Yeah.
Any questions on, before you go ahead and approve the investments portions of it for the investments for either road or general fund?
Don't like seeing all those threes instead of
It
fours.
just happens to be the,
Yeah,
I don't like seeing it either.
yeah.
You know, I want to say everything's relative, but it's relative,
Yeah.
so I just try to maximize as best that we can for the village's funds, for what's available that's out there. I mean, the days of the 5%, we did get the 1 and 1. I mean, if we look at the one that I wanted to make sure that we put $250,000 at 4.7, at the very last one for financial plus credit
Yeah.
union, we did take advantage of that. And, you know, I talk with our bankers all the time to make sure, and I always push our bankers at all the time to see if they might, you know, edge up 25 basis points or whatever for us. So sometimes I'm successful, sometimes I'm not.
You could put some in Bitcoin.
No.
That's a, I don't need an answer.
Yeah, that's a hard no.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, we don't need a motion on that. Right. Okay.
Last is the HRC not to exceed invoice for your informational purposes of where we're at. But that's another thing too, based upon where, if they do not spend everything on the not to exceed, that is funds, and Brad talked about it last meeting,
did, yeah.
that would come back to us.
Yeah.
So maybe we
Absolutely.
can put those funds towards
The bollards.
whatever.
There's a considerable amount of potential money there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, that concludes the treasurer's report.
Thanks, Bill.
Okay, thank you very much. So we are going to do trustee comments.
I have no comment.
Nope.
All set?
No.
Nope.
I'm good.
Good. Is there a motion to adjourn? Oh, no.
Not yet.
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. I have no, I was thinking we adjourn and then go back in, but that did not. So seeing no trustee comments, I move that the village council go into closed session pursuant to MCL 15.268 LE to consult with the village attorney regarding trial or settlement strategy and the status of the matter pending in the Oakland County Circuit Court entitled Zakoff versus Village of Bingham Farms Board of Zoning Appeals. Is there, so I make a motion, is there a second?
We need a motion.
She just did that.
She just did the
That was my
motion.
motion.
She needs a second.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Durrani,
Aye.
Howard,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mashigian,
Aye.
Blackburn,
Aye.
Hageman,
Aye.
McAlexander.
Aye.
Hey, I also moved that the village council go into closed session pursuant to MCL 15.268 LH to consider and discuss a written legal opinion of the village attorney, which is material exempt from disclosure under state law, and that the village treasurer be permitted to attend the closed session to assist the council and council. Council and council. Is there
I'll second.
any discussion? Roll call.
Blackburn,
Aye.
Howard,
Aye.
Miller.
He stepped
He
out.
stepped out.
Oh, sure.
Wait.
Mashigian,
Aye.
Hageman,
Aye.
McAlexander,
Aye.
Durrani.
Aye.
Do we need to wait for Mr. Durrani to come back?
We could just be slow.
Oh, he just,
You can say he was absent.
I feel like.
Okay.
He's going to the
No, I wanna
bathroom.
wait.
okay.
I mean, he's got to come back anyways.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, oh, it's upstairs, so he's coming
He
back.
doesn't have to. but-
Well, true.
True.
I think he's
Oh, the
going.
computer's still here, so.
Yeah, that's
I think
true.
he
Okay,
realized
can
we're
you
going
tell
long.
Billy too, please?
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.